live from Lismore in New South Wales. Today is Thursday, the 11th of April 2024. So we came to Lismore after the last meeting that we did at Casino, and camped here for a night at the local Lismore showgrounds. And so I'd just like to give that a bit of a plug. So Lismore, as we know, had a huge amount of problems with floods in the last little while, and it's interesting driving around Lismore here to see a lot of the buildings that are just completely abandoned. And we even saw what appears to be an old school, which is not that old, a fairly reasonably new one, and it's just abandoned like a ghost town. It looks like a perfectly good facility, other than the fact that it's completely abandoned. Like there's just long grass growing around the whole thing. And so I'm assuming that is as a result of the floods and the fact that it's probably cost more to fix it than what they can do. So it's really a stark reminder of a lot of the things that have happened around our country. And we heard a lot from Lismore. It was just a shocking time there. So that's why we thought we want to come to Lismore and just have a look around and give a little bit of promotion for the town and the businesses. They've got the showgrounds back in business. It's up and pumping. They're having a rodeo here. I think it's next weekend. I'm pretty sure it is. Anyway, I haven't quite checked that, but they've got that going on. There's also some kind of a speedway here at the arena at the showgrounds. So there's works going on all over the place. Obviously, there's still a lot of repair work happening. So we just wanted to give Lismore a bit of a plug. We had a look around the streets there yesterday afternoon just to sort of be able to talk about it a little bit. Lots of rivers and bridges and old structures. So it's not too hard to see why there was big floods here. One of the questions, of course, as many people would talk about, is the fact that this is on a particular route that they might want to do a lot of other things with in the very near future. So when we look at all the geoengineering and so on, pretty odd for Lismore to hit with two floods only a couple of weeks apart. But anyway, we've met a lot of really terrific people here, a lot of travellers. So that's what's happening here, and we'll be heading off from Lismore very soon to head off to the Gold Coast, where we've got our next presentation, next meeting that's happening there. And I'll give that a plug now for where that's going to be. So the Gold Coast meeting will be at 7 p.m. and it's going to be held at the Gold Coast Croatian Sports Centre, 181 Broadbeach Nerang Road, Carrara. So that's Gold Coast Croatian Sports Centre, 181 Broadbeach Nerang Road, Carrara. So that's a little bit different to our rural kind of theme to this tour, but we must also keep in mind that we're talking to the whole country. Nobody is excluded, and that's one of the most important things. It just brings me down to a couple of the comments that I've had from a few people, and it's rather interesting that we're talking about our farming communities and our farming people, that we have had some comments from people in rural areas that have said the farmers in their area, of which these people are part of it, have reported that the farmers are absolutely asleep, have got no idea in the world what's going on, have no appreciation at all for the situation at hand. And in fact, some community members are totally excluded and basically treated as lepers because they didn't go and get a certain bit of poison injected into their body. And that just highlights, that our work is so important to try and get into the rural community and to try and, make inroads to that, so that people get to understand exactly what's what. Because if for in Australia, for people still to be so deeply clinging to this, you know, the people that didn't go and get the shots and all that kind of thing are some kind of lepers or some kind of whatever. You know, this is abhorrent. And I just wonder, with all our modern technology in agriculture now and modern comms, why people still have this attitude. Because this is certainly not the Australian way. This is certainly not rural country Victoria or New South Wales or Northern Territory, Queensland, wherever you are. This is not the way. This is not Australia. And that just shows how scary it is that we still have some people with that attitude, despite the mountains of evidence now that it didn't matter how many of these poisonous injections that you got was never ever going to do what they said. It's never going to stop you from getting COVID, and it's never going to stop you from transmitting COVID, that was what we were told, point blank, time after time after time again, from all these so-called medical experts and, you know, government chief health officers and the like. So as it turned out, these people were lying to us and they knew it. So I think that today, you know, for certain communities or people to still have that attitude is abhorrent, and that's what we need to be changing. We need to be providing to people who don't seem to be wanting to find out for themselves. We need to be providing to people the evidence and the facts, because they have fallen into a very serious trap, a very, very deep hole, and they've basically fallen for it. So we don't want to use the term in agricultural circles of they've been drinking the Kool-Aid. But at the end of the day, we really want to snap out of this and get back control of our own minds and our own opinions based on facts. So that's where it's at. I want to also say that we put out a call on the live the other day for somebody, as people can see, we've got a new bus. Seems to be a fairly hot topic that's going around at the minute, and we've put out a call to see if there's anybody in the Freedom Network who was interested in giving us a hand to put all the decals, of which we've got. Dino cut the decals and that for us just before we left Victoria. We got them just before we left. So we've been looking for someone to help us to put the decals on the bus, and now we've found somebody. So we've got somebody in Brisbane, just out of Brisbane, who can help us to do that while we're away, because we'll be flying out of Brisbane, heading up to Rockhampton and Emerald on Friday. So we've got somebody who we can leave the bus with, and they can get that organised. So I want to say a really, really big thank you to everybody who's put their hand up, and everybody who's contacted us to give assistance with that. That's been absolutely fantastic. So it just goes to prove that the Freedom Network and family still exists. So on that note, I want to mention that for this leg, because of time restrictions, we have to fly up to Rockhampton and Emerald, and then we'll be coming back to Brisbane after that, and connecting with flights to Perth over to Western Australia. So the point of saying that is that we've got quite a lot of people who want us to visit places like Bundaberg on the way up to Rockhampton, along the coast there in Queensland. And, you know, one of the reasons why we can't do that this tour is because, this leg is because we'll be flying, so we won't be able to touch base with any of the places. But when we come back, we intend on coming back to Queensland for Beef Week. And so after we've done our tour of Western Australia, we'll be able to then stop in and visit places and have more presentations there. So thanks very much to everybody who's made the comments about visiting these other places along the coast there. We will be looking at doing that, but just at the minute we have a time budget that we can't really shift. So, and I also wanted to mention that we get quite a lot of people with comments and that on the lives and on Billboard Battalion that, you know, people want us to go to their locations and their communities and their areas and regions and states and visit there and take our presentations to their area, because so many people want to hear the truth and the facts, and so many people want some support and backup in their making the case in amongst their communities. So the one thing is that we would love to go to all places that we possibly can, but I wanted to make sure that people are aware that this costs a lot of money to do this, to travel around and go to people's communities. It costs a small fortune, and most of this is self-funded through members of Billboard Battalion, and we do get some donations and we do get some assistance there, and we're very, very grateful for that. But if we're going to have a red hot crack and really, really blitz this, really, really go for it, then it will be great to get some extra funding and some extra support financially through our bank account, where Billboard Battalion, you can donate. There's a place here to donate. So we want to go to as many places as we can, and we're certainly looking at trying to do that. But once again, we need to really get some serious funding going. And one of the other reasons for our call out for funding, and as many other groups and organisations do, and that's what we're going to have to do regularly, is that it's never been more important to try and get out to rural and regional communities and spread this message about. You know, the fact that the Great Reset, you know, the WEF, WHO and UN, all the the parts of the one world government, all the parts of the big picture stuff, you know, a lot of our communities, and that's not just rural, it's also city communities, just haven't got a clue. They're not aware. Many of them are not interested, and they're not interested simply because they don't understand the massive and dangerous impact that all this stuff is going to have on them. So, all the people that want us to come to your regions and areas, I agree 100%. It is absolutely necessary. But as with some people, you know, who have really dug deep and are giving us a red hot hand, we really need to get this up and pumping. So the more support we can get, in particular, financial support, is critical. So I wanted to have just a quick note around. I've been saying from day one, we talk about in the freedom movement, we talk about unity, and we talk about honesty. And like I continually say, very, very sadly, the freedom movement has all of the bad elements that also come with being a cross-representation of the basic community. And, you know, you get all sorts of people who, for whatever reasons best known to themselves, tend to get involved in some sort of tribalism, some sort of self-promotion, some kind of bullying tactics and all that kind of stuff, some sort of going around trying to create little groups who want to fight against other people. Well, it's always been my motto and my attitude and intentions not to get involved in that kind of stuff. And I've said this right from day one. I've said that we need to remember that the freedom family and the freedom movement have a very specific job, very important, so crucial, that we have no room for infighting and arguing and squabbling and people running around trying to influence others to take sides, whether these people are liars, many of the things that they say. We've seen a lot of this ever since I've known about the freedom movement. And I don't think things have changed now. And in fact, the evidence would suggest that it hasn't. So I just wanted to say that it is so important to remember our enemies are out in front of us. Our enemies cannot possibly afford to be internal. For people in the freedom movement to be arguing and squabbling and taking sides and allowing themselves to just fall into the old personality disorder problem, that's unacceptable. We can't do that, because what do those people want? What is the purpose of it? And I've seen a number of the groups and organisations wrestle themselves to death and then fizzle out and fade. And that is not what we're about. We need to understand we're in a war here. Australia is at war. We get one shot at this, and at the minute it's not looking too good. So people need to pull their head in and get with the program, because at the end of the day, there are some of the people, and I've known people like this over my entire life. Every now and again you'll see somebody, and for whatever reason, they'll get a bee in a bonnet, get a bee in their bonnet, and then they just start expanding things from bits and pieces of truth to full-scale garbage, just lies, total lies, and they become consumed with trying to tear people down, and they are consumed with trying to influence others to become involved in their garbage at all costs. They become irrational and they become obsessive. And sadly, the freedom movement is not exempt from that, when we'd really love to think it is. So at the end of the day, let's see if we can steer a true course, stay true north, and understand where we're at, because our enemies love to see division. They specialise in it. I've seen this over many, many years. I've been involved in many, many organisations and groups over the last 40 odd years. And I must say that since becoming involved with the freedom movement since 2020, there's been some really terrific people who have been involved in it, and there still are. There's a lot of really top players in the game, and they're totally committed to trying to get results. But I like to say that I've met many of those people here in the freedom movement who are doing great work. They're doing terrific work. I'd certainly love to have them all on the same page. I think that would be just amazing. We'd knock this over in no time if we could do that. But I've been involved in many, many things for, as I said, 40 odd years. Put together groups, organisations, been a part of groups and organisations and battles over that time frame. And I'm very, very proud of many of the people who I've met over the last 4 years in the freedom movement. I just want to say that we have similar situations from years ago when I didn't even know any of the people in the freedom movement, didn't even know there was such a thing, because it wasn't front and centre. But I just want to say a big thank you to all the supporters of Billboard Battalion and what we're doing. And as I said, I've been involved in many groups over the years, many organisations. I've formed some of them myself. Much of this is going back to 1985, and I think it's fair to say that many of the people in the freedom movement weren't even born then. So over a long period of time, I've been involved with a huge number of people, and we do get these people who have, for whatever reason, they've got issues, they've got problems, they've got some sort of drama going on. They can't think straight. Things are on top of them. Maybe some people have got, substance or alcohol problems. Some people just have mental health issues. So at the end of the day, let's try and keep it civil. Let's not get involved in tit for tat and he said, she said, and taking sides based on half truths and innuendos and lies and the rest of it. Let's keep our eye on the ball. Let's keep our mind focusing on the fact that we want to fight for our kids and our grandkids, our families. That's what it's about. That's why we're here. And we do get so many people who contact us with that in mind. That's their objective. That's their perspective. That's where it's going, and that's what they're in the business of fighting for. So I just wanted to say that we have got a lot going on at the minute. There's a huge amount that we're trying to organise, and we can't get back to everything, and sometimes you can't get to it quite when you would like to, or when people need to talk to you. So we're doing the best we can, and I want to say again thank you to all the people for their support. We've got a lot of stuff going on where a lot of people are giving us support, and I want to acknowledge that. That is just fantastic and amazing. And you know, as we get a bit closer, a bit further down the track, a few more things drop into place, a few more things we get under our belt, and then it gives you a little bit more time to try and work on other stuff. So we've had an enormous amount of interest in what we're doing in Billboard Battalion and the tour we're doing. Lots of interviews, lots of meetings are in the pipeline to be had, lots of sharing of information and sending stuff here and there. It's very, very time consuming. So I just want to say to people, thank you very much for your patience. Thanks very much for your support and help. And we're doing the best we can, and we'll get to it as soon as we can humanly possible. And very sadly, quite often when we're traveling and we should be able to talk, we don't have internet or phone coverage, which, trust me, is very frustrating. So then when you do find somewhere where you've got some coverage, you've got 2 or 3 pages of messages and calls to try and get back to, and people to respond to. So once again, thanks very much for everybody's support. It's just amazing. There are so many people who are in this battle, and as I said, keep it clean, keep it civil, keep it intelligent, and let's not get ourselves bogged down with all the usual garbage that goes on. Remember, we are the freedom fighters. We're the people who are trying to save our nation and our families. So we must stay above that line. All right, people, on that note, I'll just close by saying that today's Thursday, the 11th of April 2024. Billboard Battalion is broadcasting from Lismore, and we are on our way to the Gold Coast not long after we finish doing this. If we get the clothes dried and the towels dried, as everybody can see, it's a bit of a mission getting all this stuff washed and dried and getting ready to go again. It's fairly overcast here now in Lismore, and I wouldn't be surprised if she pours down in the not too distant future by the look of it. It was nice and sunny this morning, but now it's not. So on that note, I'd like to say thanks very much for everybody. We'll end it here, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the Gold Coast in the not too distant future. Once again at the Gold Coast Croatian Sports Centre, 181 Broad Beach, Nerang Road, Carrara. All right, thanks very much, and we'll call it quits at that. Catch you later.